Hello and welcome to Across the Pond Aces. We are back for another week, and what a short week it's been. Let's be honest. But we have some great news, some amazing news, and it's not to do with the Aces, but it is to do with Vegas. The Golden Knights, the NHL team, won the Stanley Cup. So the second championship to be brought to Vegas, because obviously it was the Aces brought the first one, which is weird because we're like just done celebrating it and doing ring ceremonies and banners. But it's good for the Golden Knights and good for Vegas.
Oh yeah. As living in Florida and living in Miami in the South Florida area, I don't know if I'm allowed to say I was rooting for the Golden Knights, but I saw it coming. As the game went on, especially the first game, I watched to see like who would win, and I said, okay, all right, maybe they just won the first game, but that last game, 9-3, I was like, wow. The Miami Heat had just finished losing, and now for the Vegas Golden Knights to beat the Florida Panthers, I was like, don't think it's happening. And now I probably am going to upset quite a few people in the South Florida area, but again, I don't mean to, just saying what's going on in the game. And that 9-3 loss was quite, I think Vegas should have just ended at like 5, been like, all right, like, but to go on to 9-3, wow.
Yeah, mercy rule has to come in at some point. Uh, I mean, this must be quite tough for you this week because yeah, the Heat lost to the
Yeah.
Nuggets. We've got the Denver Nuggets as the NBA champs. And then yeah, your Florida Panthers also lose. That's a tough week if you're a Floridian.
It is
Uh,
Floridian,
that's
but I
in
can
Florida.
say
Oh,
it is Floridian, but I can honestly say, again, I'm from South Florida, but realistically, I'm not a South Florida fan, other than for the Heat. But I won't lie, I wasn't a fan of the Heat in the finals. I watched the game against Denver, and I knew Denver was going to beat us. I saw the team play, and I said, this is not looking too good. When I saw how much bigger their team was than our team at every single position, I said, we look so tiny and so miniature compared to like the rest of them. But for hockey, I'm not a Florida Panther fan, and I know again I'm probably going to get some hate on that one. But I am a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. We don't talk about how they did this season, so we'll ignore that one. But going forward, Lightning are gonna win next year. I hope.
in fact, you've really not had a good week because my Oakland A's have been kicking your Rays up and down the place as well.
It's still early on. It's still early on. It's still early on. We don't we go on our little. It's a roller coaster. The Rays roller coaster, and the Rays are gonna get there. They're gonna get there. Just watch and see.
It's just quite funny because the A's at that game last night had 28,000 fans at that game almost because they were all there protesting the owner who's going to move the team to Vegas.
Um,
So hey, it's weird how things kind of circle around.
well, maybe Oakland will win a championship when they go to Vegas. Maybe that's all it takes. Maybe the Raiders will too. Again, yeah, I think there just needs to be the trifecta. Aces have won, Vegas Golden Knights just won, and now I think we need the Raiders to do it. Do we think the Raiders will do it? Let's hope and see. You know, Tom Brady's not in the league anymore. Maybe the Raiders will do it now this year.
I think I don't see any pigs flying outside, but like you never know. Anyway, moving on to our aces. Our aces have played just one game since we last recorded.
Yeah.
Now, it was a game that I was kind of worried about because the Chicago Sky have surprised a lot of people this year.
Hmm.
They jumped out the box and they have just went at teams with no fear. Kelly Copper has just been phenomenal, and as is Courtney Williams. Like Courtney Williams has been given a leadership role
Hmm.
that she has really grasped with two hands. So I was really, really worried going into this game that we could have our second loss. However, that wasn't to be, and I think what we said last week is that we need to start games stronger
Yeah.
than we did against the Sun. We did, and thankfully, we started that game 24-15, and like we never looked back.
I think I want to say I called it again, and
You did.
I'm officially. I want to say I'm 3-0 so far from all episodes that we've called games. I have gotten them all right. Now I don't want to jinx myself going forward, but so far I think we're doing a pretty good job on our rating system here. They're 8-1 now, but I did say, them coming back and playing in front of Kids Day, playing in front of their fans, they were excited. The crowd was excited. You can't let the kids see you lose on Kids Day. Who wants that? So it was good to see them win, and now they do play tomorrow, Thursday, against the Storm for their Pride Night. So that'll definitely be another exciting event for them to have at the arena and have them, I want to use the word hyped up, have them getting ready to go, coming off a win, still strong early on. 7 of the next 8 games are going to be at home, which is nice. They're going to get that momentum. Like you said, I think we'll end up losing of those 8 games. I'm going to call this one now. I think we'll lose 2 of them. I don't know which two yet. I'm just throwing out that number 2. So I think we're going to lose 2 games.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about future games in a second. But one thing that I loved about this game on Sunday was the fact that everyone seemed to be clicking again. It was
Yeah.
almost as if, and sometimes you see this in sports and not just in basketball, but sometimes you see it where, a team's flying, they're undefeated, and then suddenly they get a defeat, and it's like, oh, hang on.
Like
Whoa,
what
whoa,
happened?
I don't like this. This isn't a nice feeling. And then they come out the next game and they look focused and determined. One thing I noticed when they were coming into the arena, so far this season, when they've been walking into arenas, I think I might have mentioned this a few weeks ago,
Hmm.
they're not really walking. They're kind of hopping, they're jumping in, they're like
Yeah.
hyped up. There was none of that on Sunday, really, until they got to the floor itself. But actually walking into the arena, they were very focused and like looking forward and like, yeah, I'm here to do business. And when they hit the floor, they did. Asia Wilson was absolutely outstanding in this
Oh
game,
yeah.
as was Chelsea Gray. Um, and we've seen Bell come on, Chris Bell. So
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of her. I'd like to see more of her on the floor.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like we did get to see, I think she played for about 10 minutes. So it was nice to see her get some minutes because I think we are going to have to rely on role players at some point.
Oh yeah.
So I think it was good to see her get at least a quarter under her belt and, get out there, feel her way into the team, but
Hmm.
also at the same time for the rest of the team to kind of get her going as well. So it was kind of nice. Okay, Stokes was in. We didn't see her on the 3-point line as much, which was nice to see. Because that Sun game where she was just on the like out on an island in the middle of nowhere for
Yeah.
her, was really tough to watch. We didn't see that. So I think Becky made a lot of big changes with how they got themselves set up, and that was good. And I've always thought that Becky is someone who is an adaptable coach and will adapt to whatever situation she finds herself in.
I think it was important what you said about Belle, like how, she's still young. This is her second year with the team, but when you go, it's not like a rookie team where everybody's kind of getting a shot. It's the aces where you're playing with Olympic athletes. You're playing with those who are already very well established in the league, and I think it's great for Belle to be able to learn from those. She's not getting the same type of minutes as maybe somebody else in her same shoes, but she is also getting a very big learning experience, and she knows from this. I can only imagine from this opportunity that she's learning, you know, what it takes to play with these caliber of players and to also have, you know, your teammates as Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, that caliber. So she might not be getting the same amount of minutes, but she's being part of the team and she's being present for her teammates and, supporting them. Now going to Becky, we definitely know going into it, she saw that the loss on Sunday, not on Sunday, against the Suns, sorry. And from there, she had to learn, she had to change something. She knew something needed to change because there was obviously a fault that had happened. So to see the new plays come in, to see new things coming in, it's definitely important, and it's good to, like you said, they weren't coming in hopping, they weren't coming in super excited. They were coming in, they had something to show that that loss was a loss and it was okay. You're gonna have wins, you're gonna have losses. But I think it's really important to get your mind focused. You need that recharge sometimes. You need to get, okay, what did I do wrong? All right, let's make sure that doesn't happen again. We learn from our mistakes though, and we learn how to become a better team.
Oh, for sure. And I think so having a coach like that that is
Mhm.
adaptable. We always say for certain coaches, they went to the school of pop, and they go through that. And there's lots of NBA coaches and coaches actually around the world now, because a lot of coaches that he has worked with have now kind of gone on to Europe and
Yeah.
around the world as well. And we see that like these coaches do really, really well,
Yeah.
and it's great to see. Obviously with Becky, like she came in super like on a pedestal. Let's be honest, and this was going to be coach of the year. This is the person who's going to bring us a championship, and she delivered in year one. And by the looks of year two, like we are, yeah, we got a loss against the Sun, but if you can rebound from a loss like that
Yeah.
to to the strong performance that we had against the Chicago Sky, like that's immense. Like if you can have that rebound and just go straight into it, which brings us to Seattle,
Yeah.
who we play tomorrow on Pride Night, and Seattle are not having the greatest of seasons. They've got a couple of injuries. They've got Gabby Williams, who's suspended, maybe not suspended.
Mhm.
She's actually in France, I believe, and she's under concussion protocols over there
Mm.
because she got hit in the head during a Eurobasket game or something, or a league game. Oh yeah, it was the league. It was the league playoff semi-final or something because she had to miss the final because she was in concussion protocol.
Mm.
And so no one's really said whether she's going to play for the Storm this season or not, which is interesting. But Seattle, like last year compared to this year, totally different animal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think, they also lost a couple of their key players too. So I think that's definitely, they're kind of going through a restructure, like a restructure. And I think there's quite a few teams this year that it's been quite a surprise to see them going through their restructure.
They still have Joe Lloyd. Like they do still have a couple
Yeah.
of pieces there that they can build around.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think they've suffered from injuries. They've suffered from obviously not having players available, and I mean that's a big attribute is availability.
Hmm.
Might be able to shoot, but if you're not available, then it's not that great. So hopefully Seattle come in. Seattle are a team I have a little soft spot for because obviously Sue Bird was there for such a long time, and
Yeah.
we got to see her jersey retirement at the weekend. So that was fun. That was really enjoyable. The suit she was wearing, wow, that was something else.
Oh, yeah. I saw a photo of that. I mean, she always has great fashion too. She is always somebody who knows how to present themselves.
And as someone who just kicks about in shorts and t-shirts, I cannot say a word about fashion. I won't even attempt it. To be fair, I go into a sports store. That's where I get my clothing. I do not go into these shops like I don't know if you have them in the states like Harvey Nichols or any of
We
these
definitely
Harrods or
don't
anything.
have that.
I don't. So nah, I don't. Shorts and t-shirt, I'm good. Even in the winter, I wear shorts and t-shirts. It's like -8 outside. It's fine. Now that game coming up on Thursday is vitally important because it's
Yeah.
one thing to rebound from a game like we did against Chicago. That's great, but then you need to take that back in. One thing that's slightly annoying is we have a lot of time in between games,
Mhm.
and we don't later on in the season, and we've got kind of games a lot closer together. But at the moment, with having so much space, it's kind of like you're getting back into the winning mentality, and then you stop for like 4 or 5 days
Yeah.
before you play your next game. Like how can players, like, they're professionals and I'm sure they do it, but it
Yeah.
must be difficult to, like, yes, we've won, let's go again. Oh no, we're gonna train and everything else for like 4 days before our next game.
I think it's I personally think that it's a good thing, you know, because it's kind of I mean, when you play football, right? You play Sunday and then you might not have a game until, like you said, Sunday or even Monday sometimes. So I think when you go into that mentality, it kind of gives them time to maybe prepare a little bit better, watch more film, stay at work at their training facility, work on things that they might not be able to, like, that they saw that they needed to, like, work on last time. I think that's really important. Now, too many days in between is also like not great because then it's like they have to get their body used to again. All right, now we're in game mode. But I think they're, being professional athletes, they know what they're doing. They know when it's season time, they got to get serious, and they know it. Going from college, they probably, they didn't always play games probably back to back like that. So I think it's a very similar time frame too. So, but like you said, going off of a win like that to now have to do it, have to let's see. But I think they're going to be good in that sense because I think overall, they're going to have time to really work on what they can improve on during that time.
So what I'm thinking is maybe it's just me. And it's
Now,
my excitement for more games.
I would be the same. I mean, I think you obviously want more games, in I think we get spoiled with baseball being 3 days in a row, 1 day off, and then another 3 day, just continuous where it's always on TV. Um, Basketball is a little different.
Yeah, and it definitely has been. Now, there was an event that you can tell us about in Vegas
Yeah.
this week to do with Title IX.
Yeah, the 9 awards were yesterday, Tuesday, at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. So because of that, members of the WNBA, like sorry, members of the Aces, Chelsea Gray, Asia Wilson, even Mark Davis was there. They had people come out from the Raiders. They had the Raiders president, Olympic athletes, but they also were celebrating women in sports. And I think that's super important because, Title IX, I know you and I before this call had discussed it, how Title IX is not something you see in Europe. So here it is, you definitely see, especially in college athletes, you see Title IX is super important. So, or even in general, women in sports here is definitely a big thing that they want, women to have a fair chance and have the same opportunities. That's something like I know I took sports management classes in college, and that was something that a big, like, things we would talk, big topics we would discuss was Title IX.
Yeah, it's so important as well. Like you say, in Europe, it is very different. We do still have, unfortunately, like a lot of
Yeah.
discrimination that goes on, and a lot of incidents, even at football games and stuff, soccer
Hmm.
games. Um, but what we have seen in Europe, especially the UK, actually, the last couple of years, we are seeing more women's sports being
Yeah.
televised. Like that's really important. Like we now get, and we've had men's college basketball for years, at least 10 years. But this last 2 years, we've seen a lot more women's college basketball,
Hmm.
including the tournament in March. So, like, which before we just wouldn't get.
Hmm.
Even British women's sports, we're seeing more
Yeah.
of. So we've got the WSL, the Women's Super League, which is soccer. We're seeing a lot more of that now on TV. In fact, I think they had like a couple of games every weekend that they were showing on TV. So it is good, and it is good that people are recognised.
Oh, yeah.
Um, now you mentioned Mark Davis. Now, Mark Davis is not someone that we've really talked about on this podcast too much. Me and Michelle have on the
Mhm.
WNBA show, but on this show we haven't really spoke about him a whole bunch, but he is someone who is extremely forward thinking when it comes to women's sports, and indeed his WNBA team. Like he wanted to bring the Aces to Vegas and build a legacy. Like the Raiders were his dad's legacy, and I very much get the feeling that the Aces are his legacy and what he wants
Hmm.
to kind of leave behind him. And like he does all these alumni nights and alumni dinners and things like that. And he wants to listen to former players, current players, to see how we move the WNBA forward.
Hmm.
And he is very progressive. So we will probably talk about in more detail later. But I just wanted to point out, like, he is and has been so instrumental in the success of the Aces.
Oh, and I think that's great, especially like that, when you have somebody in the organization that wants to know what the players want. That's super important. When it's a players first organization, that's when the best organizations come out because they're not just seeing it, they know it's a business, but you have to see it from their point of view. What do they think will help improve? How will it's their legacy as well. They're the ones that are going out there. They're the ones that are playing. They're the ones that are showing that the fans are coming to see. People are not coming to see the coaches. I mean, maybe, but people are coming to see them play. And, you want them to be happy. You want them to have their needs met while also still running a business. And I think we've talked about that before where you have to, it's a business at the end of the day. All sports are, all organizations are. But when you have happy players, you get a lot better results.
Oh, definitely for sure. When your players and your staff are
Mhm.
looked after, like, we've seen that through championship teams
Oh,
in
yeah.
other sports and in the W in the past. I mean, even if you look back at Chicago Sky a couple of years back,
Mhm.
like it just looked like there was utter harmony between players, staff,
Yeah.
front office, back office. Like there did seem to be like a real kind of we are all one team,
Yeah.
and that's great to see. Now, talk about all one team. All Star Weekend is in Vegas this year, and voting has already started.
Yeah.
And already we have two front runners for team captain, and I don't think there's any big surprise that Brianna Stewart
Yeah.
of the New York Liberty and Asia Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces are front runners to be captains. We've already had the first round of voting kind of calculated. The WNBA published this. So I find it ironic that we have two podcasts, one based on the Aces, one based on the Liberty, and we could have a real battle for All Star this year.
That will be interesting. We'll have to see who will win. Well, are us or them?
That's gonna it makes our podcast certainly a lot more interesting,
Oh, yeah.
if nothing else. Now we do have more than just Seattle coming up this week.
Mhm.
Um, we have two games, one against the Lynx at home, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not worried by that game. No
Mhm.
disrespect to the Lynx,
Neither am I.
but they are really struggling this season.
Yeah.
And it's not nice to see a
Yeah.
team struggle, but since losing Sylvie Fells, who, I mean, they even struggled with her last year, and then you take her away, I mean, Nafisa Collier is doing everything she can to like drag her team along to win, but I think she needs some help. Like
Well, they
some
just got Emily Engsler. They signed her today.
signed her today, yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's some help for her, but obviously not like when we play against them, because I think we win that one pretty comfortably.
Yeah. I think I'm saying we win that one. Okay.
Good. I'm glad we're in agreement. Uh, the next one though is a tough one for me because we talked you talk about Brittany Griner, you talk about the Phoenix Mercury, and like what they've kind of went through over this last year, certainly last season. and they're sitting 2-6 right now. Um, and I'm gonna be honest, like, and I said this on the WNBA show, and I'll stand up and eat it. But like, I really thought that, and maybe it's just like the sports gods or whatever, but like, I really thought that the Phoenix Mercury would have like a really great season, and they still might. It just
Yeah.
hasn't started that well.
Well, what's the saying? Slow and steady wins the race. Now, I mean, I don't know if that puts us at, because we're starting pretty quick. We're starting pretty well. So I hope that doesn't turn around and make us look bad. But let's see. I mean, do I think they win it this year? Do I think Mercury win it this year? Probably not. But I think, I th- I think they'll come back. I think they'll win a couple more games. I think they're gonna start to eventually find their flow and find how they can play well together again.
Well, I think this is it, and I mean, we talked about the Lynx missing players and
Mhm.
Seattle as well. Phoenix are one of these teams. Skylar Diggins Smith is out
Mhm.
because obviously she's having a baby. Brittany Griner missed an entire year
Yeah.
and has come back. Now she's come back and she looks awesome. To be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, but still being away, you know, the team kind of had to then work around her not
Yeah.
being there last year. Now they're kind of getting used to her being back. Uh,
Mhm.
one thing that has come out, and I don't know if it's frustration, but I seen a press conference with Sophie Cunningham where she kind of ripped into the refs a little
Mm.
uh, because of she feels that Diana Taurasi is not getting calls. Uh, but she's not the only person I've seen have a dig at refs this season. I've seen Elena Deladon as well. So I don't know. I haven't really noticed anything with refs and bad calls like a lot. Like I've seen the odd one here and there,
Yeah.
but like I haven't seen loads. I mean, certainly not like you see in the NBA where it's like you take 20 steps and it's still not a travel call. But like yeah, it's just kind of weird. But hopefully, you know, Sophie can keep angry
Yeah.
because I think like she's one of these passionate players that like feeds off that, and I think it's great to see because I do like watching Sophie Cunningham play, but maybe not so much against us. But I am putting this down to another win for us.
Um, I think so too. I'm saying these next two. I I mean, well, I guess next three, 'cause including the storm.
Yeah.
I think the next three we're winning.
Mhm.
I mean, that means got to find a loss in those two games, somewhere in those next two games after that. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. I'm
Okay.
still staying confident with we win the next three.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident we win the three. We're in all fairness to them, to these three teams, they are kind of beaten up. They are kind of. I mean, Brittany Griner didn't return to the game the other night. She had a hip injury, so yeah, I think I'm hoping. Not that I want people to be injured, but I'm hoping that they don't come back this week. we, we have a bit of an
They
easier
need a
time.
little more rest. A little more rest.
Yeah,
Doctor's ordering a little
well,
more rest.
exactly. You could just imagine me like turning up to the physio room. Right, Brittany, no, you need to take another week off. Just chill out.
Another
No
week.
problem.
You can come
Uh,
back after you play the Aces.
yeah, that'll be fine. Like the day after you play the Aces, back full training, no problem. Uh, what a shame. Um, and yeah, it's going to be an amazing week. I think good games.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to them, and I am looking forward to see how Becky tweaks things
Yeah.
from Sunday because obviously, you know, she's playing a different hand against the Sky, and that worked. Um, and yeah, we'll see how the land lies. We will be back next week again, slightly on our normal schedule, and you'll still check out the Across the Pond Liberty podcast with Kirsten and Stacia. So check that out. And also Across the Pond WNBA, where this last week we've had a double episode. So you can check those out. We talked about Carly Samuelson on one, and we talked about player safety on the other. So check those podcasts out also. and everything else that we've got going on. We've got Formula One coming up this week. We've got IndyCar coming up this weekend. So check out the Across the Pond Motorsport show as well. And very soon we will be getting into our pre-season NFL mode. So on Across the Pond NFL, so check that out. Sadly, the NBA guys, Rory and Ryan, they'll be doing their last show this week, since the season is now done. So check them out as well. And as I say, we will be back next week. So tune in then, and we shall see you all very soon.
Stay tuned.